coming true.
We're deep down towards the bottom. Cannon is going to just rain hell upon the faces of Splyce. The G2 dynasty continues as they make their 5th final in a row.
It feels kind of natural to go into a final again. I'm there because I deserve to be there. I played against Reckless for 3 years now. Both of us are the face of our team. It's expected on us to carry.
This is a dream finals for us, and if we don't take it, then I'll...
Vitality and Splyce have come such a long way. No one expected these teams to be in the top 4. Even though this is a 3rd place decider, it's not just a battle for points. It's a battle for pride.
Falling to pieces, Yarnan goes down.
There were times where I was even thinking, that we weren't really going to make playoffs and all of this.
Damage, he's getting the shield on, and oh, he goes golden.
For me, I just kind of want to redeem ourselves in a 3rd place match.
The Portuguese sniper is going to run them down!
We have the better mid laner and better jungler, so.
That was so close, he might be dead here. Suzuki's looking for the paddle side, he gets it!
Because one thing is for sure. Whoever wins today will have written the first page in their legacy.
Time in history, the 4th consecutive EU LCS title. G2 Esports.
Misfits, the underdogs in this game. No one expected anything, but they hit hard.
Yankos, the first Blood King. Let's make this a clean fight.
Later. That's a bit quick on the draw, but welcome everyone to the finals weekend in the EU LCS Spring Split. We are ready for so much action here in Denmark as Splyce and Vitality they kick things off in tonight's 3rd place decider. But first, let me introduce myself in the desk. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter, joined by Maurice Amazing Stuckenschneider, Jonas Cold Anderson, and Trevor Quickshot Henry. Now, Jonas, you are the only Dane on the desk, so will you please welcome the people of the Royal Arena in Danish?
Of course, I would love to. Til alle jer danske League of Legends fans derude, om I ser med hjem fra stuerne eller her fra Royal Arena, så håber jeg, I er klar til at fejre den her weekend sammen med os, nu når vi endelig har fået LCS-finalerne her til Danmark i Royal Arena. Det bliver ikke meget større end det her, det bliver ikke meget vildere. Så det eneste spørgsmål, jeg har, København, er vi klar?
All I heard was pulse,
Faxikondi, dansk. Okay, fantastic. No. Well, now that we have officially welcomed everyone also in Danish, let's kick off this weekend here in Copenhagen. This is what we've got in store today. Splyce and Vitality battle it out for the 3rd place tonight. And then tomorrow, G2 and Fnatic face off in the finals. The winner will get to lift the EU LCS trophy and represent Europe at MSI.
And of course, MSI being in Europe, very exciting. Before we get to those games, the opening ceremony will be at 5 o'clock tomorrow. And we've got a special edition of the pre-game lobby starting at 4:30. So tune in. We've got some memes, some analysis, some fun stuff for everybody in the arena.
That we do. I do want to take another minute just to preview tomorrow's final between Fnatic and G2 Esports. Amazing. It is really a final of which I definitely had hoped it would be the one on the big stage, and a lot of people are looking forward to that grand matchup.
Yeah, we already hoped for it last year, but Fnatic fell flat in the semifinals. But this time around, we finally have it happen, and I'm excited for it.
Me too.
I mean, we have the 2 biggest organizations in Europe clashing tomorrow, and I'm just excited to see what's going to happen.
We're also excited.
I am also excited. But for me, I mean, Cold, you said the 2 biggest organizations. Of the 10 previous winners, 9 of those trophies have been hoisted by G2 or Fnatic. So the first time in history, we get to see them go head-to-head in a final. Ultimate bragging rights.
Would you say it's quite the legacy?
Or I think it might be. One could call it the clash of Kings.
Oh, God.
We could, yes.
Where were we again?
I'm out.
We are in the Royal Arena after all, and today we have the third place decider between Splyce and Team Vitality. Let's make clear what is on the line today. Third place in the EU LCS, victory in front of this awesome crowd, championship points towards the World Championship, and the last slot for Rift Rivals 2018 alongside Fnatic and G2. So much more than you might expect for a third place match.
There really is. And I think the Rift Rivals is one of the ones that we have to start really reminding people. It's the second year, obviously going up against North America. Last year, NA clapped EU. We got such a rude awakening. Fnatic in particular, they learned so much about their losses at Rift Rivals. Whoever wins today gets to represent EU, and that means a lot for both of these squads.
And as much as these teams would have loved to play in the final, these points actually really matters at the end of the year when qualification for World Championships is coming around. So a lot on the line today.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Vitality and Splyce already have their eye on the end of the year. So hopefully, whatever team wins here, they accrued some points for that World Championship qualification. I got some jitters. You know, it's the first show in the big arena. So let's break down the story of the teams. Starting up with Splyce, a team with a roster really built for playoffs. But how do we think they did to that goal? How did they do in playoffs after all?
So throughout the year, they basically tried to implement this well-oiled machine almost. They tried to play this perfect game. And throughout the split, they actually looked like they came together. But then in the playoffs, they suddenly fell flat and looked like a different team in the semifinals especially.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely disappointed in the way they played in the semifinals specifically. But if you look at the later stages of the split, I felt like they were the team that was improving the most. And I think we just didn't see that in the semis, and that's why we are questioning how good they really are.
Yeah, I have to reiterate that point. I think I expected a lot more from Splyce against G2 in terms of putting up a fight, but you cannot deny the fact that Splyce week 1 versus Splyce week 9 looked like a completely different team. They learned a lot, they developed, they grew, and they need to prove that the semifinals was a blip on the radar by taking down Vitality today.
Yeah, definitely. It went from the Kobe show only in the first half of the split to really all the members on that team stepping up, and they all will want redemption today to be satisfied with their split, but then they'll have to beat Team Vitality. Now, when we look at Team Vitality, there's a lot of hype surrounding that roster. The 3 rookies in the bottom lane, Jisuke, Mini Trupax, and Jack Troll, and a lot of wins racked up for them also in the first half of the split. But what do we make of their playoff run so far?
I mean, in terms of that playoff run, if we look at what people expected them going into the split, people didn't even expect them to get into the playoffs. So I think they can be very satisfied with where they are right now. Their playoffs play have shown that they're really strong in the early game, and that's kind of what identified them as a team.
Yeah, I do think so too. They kind of like played. I do want to make some mental gymnastics in that regard, though. I do think that throughout the split showed some growth and it showed the ability to actually play at the highest level. So their semi-final performance was actually surprisingly disappointing to me. Even though they were able to silence the haters, they still didn't play to their utter potential.
Yeah, silencing the haters, but if we know Mini Trupax, if we know Gilius, they want to make a show out of it today. And also for a team like Vitality and Splyce, any best of 5 experience on a big stage and possibly Rift Rivals will be super good experience for them going into the rest of the split.
Definitely. I mean, they have experience prior in the challenges, but nothing compares to that. Like playing on the stage here in Copenhagen, I think it's going to be crazy for them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They will put it all on the line. For now, though, Vitality's coach YamatoCannon, he has led Vitality all the way to the third place decider. Let's check in with Law and hear what he has to say before today's series.
Thank you very much, Shox. Law here in Copenhagen, joined with Yamato. You guys made it so far this split. You're here for third place. What can you tell me about the evolution of your players through the splits?
I think throughout the split we proved that individually everyone is very talented, they work together as a unit, and I feel like we've proven that we're a contender, and our goal is to continue on this trend throughout the entire year. We have flaws that we can easily work on, and I think we will continue on the same path to just be contenders.
Your goals, you told me about, but today you're aiming for third place. What is the most important things for you guys if you get this third place?
Of course, we are really excited about third place because of Rift Rivals. We want to get as much experience internationally as possible. I think facing off against the North American teams is exciting. Traveling to another continent is amazing. The points as well is a huge part because our goal is to, of course, go to the World Championship. That is the goal, and this is what we have eyes on since the beginning. And the points are going to matter for sure when it comes to the summer split.
And this game is going to be very decisive. About that, what did you guys work on this week to be ready today?
I think it's more about just cleaning up our own mistakes. I know for a fact that we are a better team than Splyce when we are playing at the highest level. We just need to clean up our mid to late game mistakes and we will have a very easy time. I think our regular split matches shown that we have a really good read on Splyce, and I think stylistically we are just better than them.
And any insights on some picks we might see today?
Of course, I can't say that. Like, you must be kidding me.
Obviously, and that's the story for later. Back to you, Shucks.
I mean, you always got to try, Laure. So glad you did. Quick shot in the meantime. He's gone downstairs. He's going to get ready for the opening ceremony and to introduce the teams. I do want to just hang on that interview with Yamato for a second. Do you guys agree with we will have an easy time? They do have a 2-0 lead over Splyce in the regular season, but is it going to be that clear cut?
I really like what he said, actually, because when I looked at this matchup, I thought that Vitality also is the superior team, but they just need to clean up their play a little bit. So I couldn't have said it better than Yamato in this case, what I thought they should look at.
Yeah, I do think so too. If they finally remember that they do have a smite button, I think they can actually take the series.
We'll see what happens, and well, we're going to zoom in on some players, and let's start with the jungle. Now that you mentioned the smite button, Gilius versus Xerxes. Amazing. I know you're a super duper Gilius fanboy, so why is he so good?
So A, he reminds me of myself when I was a player, and B, what's more important is that he's actually decisive and he makes the decisions like within the moment. He always tries to make the play for the team if it's necessary. And that's something that a lot of junglers don't do. They don't have the aggressiveness to make that play in the moment.
Do you do that?
I do. In solo queue at least, you know,
right.
for now.
But the question is, does Xerxes do that?
Yeah, I mean, so on the other hand, we have Cersei, who in the later stages of the split had really shown up. He is praised as the best jungler in Europe in the later stages of the split, and I think it's fair to say that because he really showed up. On the other hand, though, in the playoffs, I felt like he was not as impactful as we would have liked to see.
Yeah, pre-15 minutes, he didn't show up as much.
Yeah, he almost seemed scared to a certain extent, and I think that kind of plays to Splyce's issues within that semifinals, where they kind of a bit hesitant, where they regress and almost look like they're beginning of spring split itself.
All right, and then when they're up against Vitality, that'll be very important because they are very aggressive early on in the game. A lot from that mid-side out. Jizuke versus Niski is, because of that, also the next matchup we want to look at, because Jizuke, the Italian stallion, the rookie of the split, is an absolute force to be reckoned with in that mid lane. Will Niski be able to do anything again?
I mean, we saw it in the semifinals where Fnatic had a good idea of how to shut down the mid and jungle synergy from Vitality, which is so crucial for their gameplay. And I really hope that Splyce can kind of try to challenge that today, because I think that's the way you should play against Vitality to beat them.
But can they do that with Niski? TLDR, are we still not entirely sure about Niski, or were those worries swept away because of their quarterfinal?
I'm not worried about Niski, but I think the strength of Niski lies within a different field. I think his laning phase is not that superior compared to Jizuke's, but I do think his later stages of the game, his team fighting, especially in the Cassiopeia, is extremely good. So that's what you have to look for.
So where do we look at then for Splyce for the early game, the top lane possibly, Odoamne versus Cabochard, two guys who have been around the block and have been on stages like this for a long, long time. How much will they be able to influence the matchup?
Yeah, so I think this top lane matchup, Cabochard against Odoamne, is going to be very crucial for the game, because when I look at Splyce, I think the way they have shown to get leads early game is through the top side, especially in the playoffs and here in the later stages. So I think a lot should be put towards Odoamne, getting him ahead in the game.
We'll see if that's the strategy. One more player I want to talk about in specific, the only Dane on stage today. Kobe, Cold, why is he so good? Why is he so amazing?
I mean, we are kind of blessed today. Like, we have a Dane on the analyst desk in me. We have the Fisher casting the game. We have also a Dane on the stage today in Kobe, and you know, I think it means a lot to him. It would mean a lot to me to be able to play in this arena. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna bring. He's a crucial part of Splyce, so he needs to step up today.
Yeah, I hope he steps up and gives us the match that we want to see. How do both teams approach the game from a high-level standpoint?
From a high-level standpoint?
Amazing.
So basically, for Vitality, it's all about the early game, trying to get Jizuke ahead, play on that middle jungler synergy, and translate those leads into the side lanes. Whereas I think Splyce is more or less this controlled 114 that still tries to just play the game in a controlled pace, and then just basically play towards the bot side at some point. If they can ignore the top side, if they have a carry on top side, however, we'll see a lot of plays there.
Yeah, and I just want to see Splyce challenge the 2v2 in mid. And then I want to see Odoamne stepping up a bit, showing more dominance in the laning phase, because I think whenever he is in a position where he has the advantage in the lane, Surge is super good at facilitating him. Exactly. So that's what I want to see.
Alrighty, so if we think of all those approaches to the game for both teams, let's see how that translates itself into the possible draft phase. We already saw a lot of picks and ban phases from these two teams in playoffs, and we sat together to see what would be the most influential power picks for each side. Let's start with Splyce, Zach, Cassiopeia, and Camille. The Camille is what you just, I think, alluded to as being a strong lane pick for Odoamne.
I mean, Camille is not necessarily the strongest laner, but Odoamne specifically really showed in the quarterfinal how efficient he was on the champion. And I think it's a champion that is very impactful in the draft phase today.
All right, and then Zach, for the jungle, we had some question marks with Xerxes in the semifinal because it looked like because of not having Zach and of being banned out, he nearly didn't have any influence or not as much as before.
Yeah, similar how the Camille enables Odoamne, Zach enabled Xerxes to be active early and be someone to play around, because Xerxes, while he's heralded as the best jungler in Europe, at least like for the later part, he still sometimes falls into the trap of being too passive, trying to give too much space. And I think this Zach pick enables him completely and makes him be an aggressive player, which is important for Splyce.
Yeah, that's what we want to see today. Let's take a look at the power picks for the side of Vitality. Talia, Caitlyn, and Tahm Kench is what we agreed on. I think the Talia is clear. Jizuke played it 7 out of 9 times in playoffs so far. You even called him the best Talia in the world, so.
I mean, may I have to take that back, but I do think he's basically the best Talia in Europe, because he is the one that is able to dance around in team fights, actually carry games solo, and that's something that is so rare on a champion that basically only has technically one real damage spell that he can spam all the time. So him on Talia would be important for Vitality because he enables everyone on the map.
And I mean, if you have 4 victories in the playoffs and all of them are on Talia, then you might as well start looking at it as a power pick. But other than that, we have Caitlyn and we have Tahm Kench, who both kind of enables their bot lane to either play very aggressive or play very defensive. And I think this is a strength that Vitality has, that they can play to both the top side and the bottom side, whereas Splyce only really has shown to play to the top side.
Alrighty, so we know about the game plans, we know about the picks and bans, we know about the players to watch, but then what are your predictions? Who's gonna win? Who's gonna lock in that Rift Rival spot, that 3rd place spot, the most championship points, and a victory in front of the crowd?
So I think Vitality has shown to be the better team in the early game, and I think on the patch, I think this is really, really crucial. So I'm predicting Vitality is gonna win 3-1. We're probably not gonna, they're probably gonna lose the game due to them having some issues around the Baron, but we will see, maybe they cleaned it up, but my prediction is 3-1 to Vitality.
No faith in Kobe.
Call him out.
It's not his fault.
All right.
Okay. I do think that Vitality is a superior team, but I do think they have the ability to throw more than one game, and I think they're going to win 3-2.
All right, 2 votes for Vitality. We'll see. Well, I definitely hope that we can see 5 games at least. Time to get started with our first series here in Copenhagen. Let's head down to QuickShot and meet the teams.
Thank you very much, Sharks. Vitality and Splyce are about to take to stage for the 3rd place decider. There's a lot on the line as both teams will take their first step towards Worlds. The right to represent Europe at Rift Rivals. Ladies and gentlemen of Copenhagen in the Royal Arena, please help me in introducing Team Vitality! As Vitality take to the stage, the first time in organization history for finals weekend. 3 rookies flanked by the 2 veterans. Let me introduce Vitality's top laner, YamatoCannon! In the jungle, Gilius! Rookie of the split mid laner, Jizuke! The EU LCS's first Portuguese AD carry, Mini Trupax! Vitality support carry, Jack Troll! and their coach, YamatoCannon. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for Team Vitality. Their opponents trying to stop Vitality today. Let me introduce to you Copenhagen, Splyce! Splyce are back in finals weekend for the first time since summer 2016. And as you can hear from the Danish crowd, a lot of support for the only Dane on stage today, Copenhagen! It is my pleasure to introduce Splyce's top laner, YamatoCannon! Ganking from the jungle, Xerxes! Roaming from the mid lane, Niski! Denmark, it's your AD carry, Corbin! And the support for Vitality. Correction, Splyce, it's Kissing! Their coach, Peter Dunn! Your third place decider match, Team Vitality taking on Splyce. Copenhagen, make some noise!
The Infernal Drake, eyes on the prize. Selfie could just get taken out here, goes over the wall. Matrix wants a little bit more. Get the cast out. LB, one more auto. They're going to be able to take him out. Suddenly Vitality are in absolute control.
Now it's going to be another one. Let's see, the Cosmic Radiance is down and the health bars are melting here. Kavi's going to start it off by taking down Prophet. Down goes the Anivia, and they don't even need to worry about breaking the base because they have broken the backs of Team Rocket, cleaning house. And is this where they do it? With a triple kill for YamatoCannon, there are no members of Rocket standing.
That victory, Splyce make their way to Copenhagen.
The base wide open. They've got their eyes set on the prize. They're feeling good. They're cheering on the stage. And three rookies, the lineup of Vitality, prove themselves worthy of the top 4 in the EU LCS.
Welcome to the third place decider between Splyce and Vitality. I'm Daniel Dracos. It's my pleasure to be joined by Andrew Vedieste.
Thank you very much, Dracos. But we are even more privileged to be joined by the one and only Monteficio Lunga.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you.
It's good to be here. It's exciting.
You guys want to talk to Danish or something?
All I know is tak and...
Tak?
Okay, did I already mess it up?
You have to say, rød med fløde.
Rød med fløde.
Ready?
No, I'm not offending your
people.
people.
Do it for the crowd. Do it for the crowd. Rød med fløde.
Roll med fløde.
It's good enough.
Roll
good
McFleur. Okay.
Thank you, Copenhagen.
All right, well, interesting, of course, as we wait for the players to get ready, we have a chance to kind of talk about what exactly we expect to see from this matchup. Now, this is an interesting one. I think if we looked at it after the quarterfinals, we would have expected a completely different game. But after interesting semifinal performances from both these teams, I think our expectations have changed a little bit across the board.
It's just really hard to predict between the two guys because you have one team, Vitality. It's all about early game, aggressive play styles. We want to see a ton of different kills. And then on Splyce, it's slow and steady still, trying not to fall too far behind. So they're kind of opposites in that regard. Also based on what we saw, of course, in the semifinals.
The only developments we really saw from Splyce was that they can be active in the early game if Xerxes can get his hands on a certain couple of champions. He does love to make his way up towards the top side of the map, where he kind of struggled to make that kind of happen during the semifinals.
Yeah, I feel like teams figured out that if you ban Zach, he's definitely less impactful in the early game. He tried the Trundle. We didn't see the same kind of result from him. So that's something Splyce will have to figure out for this specific game, obviously, when we're watching these two teams play, because we are currently just waiting for everyone to get ready on stage. Everyone is loading in very soon, and then we can actually start the first game.
Yeah, curious too to see what Vitality want to do in the draft, because we saw them come in with a very focused strategy against Fnatic, banning out Reckless completely. 380 carry bans in the vast majority of the games. Is it going to be that kind of targeted strategy up against Splyce? What are they going to kind of try to bring to the table?
I think it's quite interesting because in terms of discussing and prepping things coming into this draft, I was kind of looking at the champion pool of Kobe and evaluating, is this the same kind of style that you can put onto him, limit his pool, maybe put him onto something he's not as comfortable on? Personally, given his years of experience and the fact that he is still the only remaining member on Splyce, I think it's a strat that would be difficult to really put him outside of his comfort zone, given the champion pool that he has.
If you use enough bans, you can always get rid of someone.
Yeah, exactly that. But I feel like their focus is going to be trying to take Xerxes off of these comfort picks. We've seen things like the Zac that we talk so much about. We saw it banned away from him in the semifinals. And also I think that Zyre is another big pick that needs to just be taken off the board.
I want to see if they take that away, but also on the opposite side for Vitality. I mean, Jizuke on the Talia. You want to talk about comfort picks. That feels like the biggest one. 7 games over the course of the playoffs, 4 wins. You heard Cole talk about it on the desk. All of the wins for Vitality have come on that champion.
So do you just take it away, or do you leave it open for game 1 of a best of 5? And you say, you know what, we might have an answer we're going to test. Because if you then beat it in the first game, when we have Splyce on red side, suddenly the Talia might not be a problem for you, and you don't have to waste any bans in the next few series. That's going to be a big question between the two teams. I just want to look at how many times they can pick red side, because both teams tend to only win games on red side. And of course, Splyce have side selection.
Having that counter pick, to clarify, Splyce, they did come into playoffs as the higher seed, which is why they are able to get choice of sides for games 1, 3, and 5, should we be able to make it that far. I'm expecting a pretty close series between these two teams. As you identified, Deficio, it is a difficult one to predict depending on what they've prepared, but I know that Vitality feeling very, very confident.
And now, as the crowd gets ready, the players get ready on stage, we are closer to pick and ban. Looking forward to getting into it.
A lot of support for Corbett in the crowd. No surprise as you come.
I wonder why. I wonder why.
Look, and the thing is like these bot lanes are both really high, because you got Kasing, who's such a vocal member. You've got every member of Vitality who are vocal, but the bot lane especially do like to bring it up. And I want to see how exactly they're going to handle this 2v2 matchup and what they want to bring to the table.
Yeah, we're going to see Kasing play range supports every single game, and Jack Troll tries to counter him and then beat him with like a Thresh or something in the bottom lane. Or do we see Kasing change it and actually pick tank supports on his own and suddenly try and surprise Vitality? There's so many questions going into it. The teams have had a full week to prepare for this one, and of course had a lot of games to look at where a team has been losing and say, okay, why did these guys lose? Was it a pick and ban phase? Was it something in-game that got punished? And they can try and do exactly the same.
You know, one of those players that I will be looking at very closely is Odoamne up in the top lane, because I felt like last week he really struggled to have an impact in their series versus G2. He almost came across as invisible. I mean, you compare that to his second half of the regular season and his quarterfinal against Roccat, all eyes were on him to be one of the biggest carries for this Splyce squad.
And you have to remember the start of the season was really rough, but as this team started to come together, as they started to be able to play more strategies than just waiting for Kabe to scale up, it was Odoamne at the forefront, him and Xerxes working together, getting those snowballing top lane picks. And are we going to see that same kind of performance where Xerxes is very active, where Odoamne gets the snowball he needs to win, or are we going to see something different?
Yeah, I don't know if Splyce wants to play passive and go for late game.
That's what we don't know.
That's one of the big questions. I think for them, if we look at how they actually found success in the second half, they were more proactive. They were actually making plays happen, like Drake has highlighted just before here. But it's not been the main strength for them looking at playoffs. They've actually relied a lot more on still trying to get past the laning phase without being too far behind, and then have really strong team fighting.
And now, as we are just moments away, can't confirm, just a minute out. Kasing, not quite as much of a fan favorite as Kabe. It's fair. He's got a good laugh, but he's not Danish.
He didn't bring a Danish flag.
Ooh, true.
That's the problem. That's the key for players.
They're not hard to get. Me and Martin went and bought one this morning.
Yes, we did. Among other things that we might reveal tomorrow. We know how to get the crowd going now. We just show Kabe every time.
It's a good look for the team. And development, of course, important over the best 5 to see how these teams adapt. I also, just a reminder of the stakes. Talking about Rift Rivals, this slot on the line, I think championship points, while important, World's still very far away for these teams. It's going to take a strong summer season as well. But Rift Rivals is just right around the corner. And no matter what you do, you are going to be able to qualify, lock in here. However, now it is time for picks and bans as we get ready here for Game 1. Let's see if some of the predictions you guys laid out are correct. What are the bans going to be? Already seen the Xayah taken away along with the Ryze.
All right, remove Ryze from Jizuke, been one of his best